Happy Sunday, Tampa Bay. We're with you for another week to talk about the Tampa Bay real estate market here on the Duncan Duo Show. I'm Andrew Duncan, joined by Robert Johnson, also with the Duncan Duo team, and Mike Corrigan with Cross Country Mortgage. When we aren't on air, make sure to follow us on all of our socials. We are at the Duncan Duo, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, basically everywhere. Check out our fun memes that we get to post on social media, but also we have some really cool contests going up. So if you're a Tampa Bay Lightning fan and you want something autographed by a player, or maybe you want tickets, make sure to follow us on all of our socials. We'll have some cool giveaways and so much more on all of our socials, again, at the Duncan Duo. So if you're a husband and wife out there and you're struggling to get on the same page with making a real estate decision, we've got some advice for you today to help you come to grips with the process of either buying or selling a home, and the differences and the challenges that we sometimes see in spouses. And it's interesting because I think, you know, the majority of our customers that are selling a home, you know, are married, and they're and I think that's probably the majority of homeowners are married couples. So we've learned through the years that you know, and not to stereotype, because this is not the same with every single household situation, but we've learned that, you know, the husband and the wife sometimes have differing opinions, and there's some pretty consistent themes that you can see throughout our experience working with both the husband and the wife. So we've got some advice for it to help you guys get through the challenges of getting on the same page with making a real estate decision. I think the first thing that's just logical is a husband and wife are going to have different tastes.
No.
Yeah. You know, what the husband wants is going to be completely different than what the wife wants, and vice versa. And so, you know, interestingly, when we were building our house, you know, I more or less told Angela, I got the garage. And everything else I don't really care about. Like, I care about a few things with the house, and I wanted to have this and this. But the layout and all that kind of stuff, I don't really care about.
How did she take that? Like, was that okay?
At first it was, and then it felt like I wasn't participating. So then I was like, okay, well let me jump in, and then I started to participate, and then determined that she just wanted me to act as if I wanted to participate, but really didn't want to honor what I wanted, you know. So it didn't really matter. But the reality is that, you know, there's going to be a checklist of things, and to keep, you know, buying and selling a home, building a home, it can be really stressful on a marriage. And the thing that I always, you know, tell people that are married is, you know, before everything else, before your house, before your business, before all that, your marriage comes first. So you have to get on the same page, and when you do come to a decision, you have to both support that decision. Even if it wasn't exactly what you wanted, you know, you don't need to keep score. You don't need to say, oh, I did this and you did that, and well, I told you we shouldn't have done that. Like, it's just not good for the marriage. So when you're buying a house, you're going to be there for a few years. So the last thing you want is to spend, you know, years of your life where you're, you know, arguing and reminding each other and keeping score about, well, I told you we didn't want to put the laundry room by the garage. So, you know, when you do come to the grips with making a decision, you make the decision, and then you don't look back, and you don't, you know, you just kind of move on with it. So, but, you know, historically, you know, there are things that a man wants in a house and a woman is going to want in a house. I think for women, the home is more a place of security. I think a lot of times it's safety, it's peace, and for men, sometimes we're looking at it more from an environment of toys or watching games and the big TV, and where am I gonna play pool? Where am I gonna put the bar? So we have different tastes, and, you know, unless you have an unlimited budget, you've got to compromise to be able to get, you know, things that you want and things that your spouse wants in order to be able to be happy. So go ahead.
Do you think that, I mean, like the article says, there's a way that you can start that compromising process all the way back to when you first start looking at rentals, so even before your first purchase. So yeah, start the compromising process in a rental property, because then you can figure out, okay, well, what do we both like? What's our commonality? We can try it out on a rental before you go full on, let's compromise on the purchase. Because I think you need to figure out, as we tell buyers all the time, okay, what are your non-negotiables? So maybe you can both agree specifically on the location that you want to live, and then you can go from there. So find a rental in the location that you want to live in, and then figure out what you both really can't live without and what you both really want to make sure, or what you want to make sure that you can compromise on some things.
Yeah, and I think that the other side of it, that I've always found, makes a lot of sense is, don't make knee-jerk reactions, don't make knee-jerk responses. Whenever there's a decision, just take a step back and really talk about it. Because, sometimes you have one of the, personalities in the relationships that's more of the talker and one that's not.
Absolutely.
And the one that's the talker may say, oh, let's do this. And then the not talker doesn't really say something. So, they don't get comfortable to saying something until later that night. But later that night, the decision was already made.
Yeah.
So you want to be slow in making sure, because you don't want your home to dishonor your marriage. Your marriage is about compromise and, being one. So making that decision needs to be, you need to be together on the same page.
I think it's important to make those decisions together. Sometimes in relationships, one person, the husband makes more of the decisions in a certain aspect of the marriage or how things are going, the woman does another, and so on and so forth. And I really think, especially with the home, you got it together,
and I think,
working it through.
So here's what I see, what a failure is a lot of the time is the spouse that's more of the business person. Okay, and again, in today's environment, sometimes it's a man, sometimes it's a woman, but the one that's more involved in the business and handling the money seems to think the house is a business money decision. But unless the house is a home that you don't live in, which is an investment property, then it's not really a business decision. You're making a decision for your family. And I've seen spouses that are the business financial person make a decision about the home that they want to live in that makes business financial sense, only to disrupt the path of the other spouse, believing it needs to be less of a business decision and more of our family decision, and it ended up leading to divorce. Because it starts a domino effect of disrespect in the marriage and paying more attention to money and work than it does to the house, or the family. So if you are in a marriage, I strongly encourage that you guys really do work together and don't just make the decision about your home based on finance or money, or that you think you got a good deal. Make sure it's going to be the right house for a long period of time for your family, and it can work for your family and as many needs that you can check off as possible. So, I know each of you guys have gone out through that process before, right?
This is the Duncan Duo
I was thinking,
marriage show today.
Yeah, right.
Well, but I really do think that we look in real estate. I'm going to be honest with you. We wear so many hats. People say, "Oh, you're a real estate agent." No, we're not. We're therapists.
Right.
We're wannabe lawyers. We have to do so many things during the path of buying a home, and half the time it's talking one person off of the ledge or giving them life advice to help them make a better real estate decision because that part of their life is a little maybe off. But you guys have both done it. I mean, what are some things that you found helped you guys make real estate decisions with your spouse?
Yeah, well, when I moved to Florida from up in Ohio, I had come down prior to for work, and my wife and my kids were still up north, and I was like, and we spent a couple weekends together looking at houses. We had one fall through because it didn't appraise enough. This was back in 2005, so when everything was booming.
Yeah.
And so then, she had to go back to the kids, and so I was kind of on my own, and I was like, oh my gosh, right? Like, how are we going to do this? So I literally when I was looking at homes, I would take a camcorder and literally film it and do a video. This was before there was videos on every single home to be able to do it. And then we would spend time talking through, okay, well, this room isn't as big as we want, but there's this to offset it, or so on and forth. The yard was a little bit smaller, but there was a park right across the street, so on and so forth, and be able to do it that way and just try and give as much information as possible. And again, that's why I say talk through it with your spouse.
And especially the spouse that talks and the one that doesn't. The one that does talk, get information out of them.
Yeah.
Like, look, if you don't really want to talk about it, can you put it into a spreadsheet for me or something? Can we get some communication about this? Because I can tell you that they are thinking about it. They're just not as outgoing with their communication. What about you, Robert?
I would say the biggest thing for us was figuring out, as I mentioned earlier, the location we wanted to live in. We're not big new construction people, so we had to figure out a neighborhood close to, the city or in town that we both really liked. But luckily for me, my wife, as long as we got the location correct and we found something there, she was pretty laid back. at least with our first property. And, you know, we knew it was kind of a starter home, so I think that that's definitely important to compromise on. So if you know that you're probably going to be moving again, I think you can go a little outside of your comfort zone for the first property, but just make sure that there's some equity there.
Yeah, and I think learn from it too.
Yes.
Right. So when you have that starter home, you're not going to get everything you want, but use it as a learning experience, both for your real estate experience, but also for your marriage. You know, it's an experience to go through where you kind of learn the pros and cons about it together.
Yeah, and we have that opportunity to learn from a rental. So the rental, we went outside of our comfort zone. She was from a different area. She was from North Pasco, and then I had always lived in Carrollwood, so we went to Seminole Heights. She found out really quickly that she didn't want to live there, but I'm glad, because at one point we were talking about purchasing there, and I'm glad that we went into a rental first. Besides, luckily we didn't purchase there because she ended up really not liking it.
Yeah.
And we ended up living in Carrollwood because that's the location she really wanted to live in. It was just about us finding a house.
And I think, her not liking it, obviously, Seminole Heights has changed a lot. Maybe the impression would be something different today.
No, totally.
It is remarkably better today than it was, 5 to 10
Yeah, we're
years
talking
ago.
about like
several years
we're
ago.
talking about 2008.
Yeah,
so
a decade ago.
Yeah, different
much different era in Seminole Heights. So, well, again, you're listening to the Duncan Duo Real Estate Show. When we aren't on air, make sure to follow us on all of our socials. We are at The Duncan Duo. Check out TheDuncanDuo.com for our featured listings. Apply for our guaranteed sale program or apply to get an instant cash offer on your home. Again, that is at TheDuncanDuo.com. We're going to continue this conversation. We're going to talk about the break about husband and wife decisions when selling your home. We focused in the first segment here about buying. We're going to give you some tips. If you're husband and wife about to sell your house, stay tuned. We're going to give you some tips to help navigate through that so that you can pick the right agent, not make the mistake, and call us, because it's pretty much all you need to do anyway. So we'll be back after a quick break here on the Duncan Duo Show.